right, it is time to do a bit of a film goals check-in and wrap-up, sort of, kind of. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you this video. I'm going to be talking about the last set of dance movies that I saw in the first quarter of 2024. One of my big film goals this year is simply to watch more new-to-me movies, and to do that, I started off with the first quarter of setting a challenge to watch 10 new movies in 3 different categories of film that I really love. That includes dance movies, which we're going to talk about here, and the other 2 categories were monster movies and newly added world cinema to Canopy. Initially, I was doing weekend film updates and sharing as I watched, but I had a bit of an unexpected break from doing videos, so I'm going to wrap up each of the quarters by wrapping up the remaining monster movies, dance movies, and newly added world cinema to Canopy, and then I think I'll do a wrap up of those categories and look like an overview of the categories as a whole, and then be on to quarter 2 and the new choices for quarter 2. But for today, we're going to be talking about dance movies. So I was at 6 dance movies seen at the start, where we left off. I'm trying to remember what the last one, actually, I can't remember. Genuinely. Might have been Dancing Queens. That might have been the last one I saw. Anyway, but the next one to talk about that I saw, I watched Night Dancing. This is a 6-minute short film from 2016. It is a UK-Romania co-production. It's very much a festival film. There's a little icon there. Oh yeah, it was at TIFF. Oh, there you go. I watched it on Canopy. I'm trying to remember if it cost a rental. Sometimes the short films don't, or sometimes, I think it costed 1 ticket as opposed to 2. They changed their system there. Anyway, so this is, I was going by the title. You can see there, you can sort of see there's a dancer. There's I think the title card on the app made it very clear that it looked like it was dancing someone in the air or something like that. So this is a short film that's centered on a character who it's sort of, the narrative is told while the protagonist is talking to a therapist, and he is relaying or a reoccurring seeing of someone dancing. And then we, as the viewer, also see someone dancing. So it's like regular day, out and about, and then there's a person who appears to be dancing. I really liked this film. It is, you know, on the artsy side of things, which I really do love. And I really do love art house films. It is, I thought about having it as a category, but I think you don't always know a film is an art house film until after you've seen it. But this does definitely have that vibe of that it's about like a little bit more about texture in terms of how the story is told. And also I felt like there was a strong emotional thread of the story through both, you know, this person expressing what they're seeing, you know, obviously in a, you know, clinical, semi-clinical setting, and, you know, and then seeing something that feels so like not what you would normally see on a normally day. Is it real? Is it not real? Is that really the question that it's asking? For me, I don't like, that's not the question that I need answered. For me, what I enjoyed was just simply this vignette and these moments and the dance and the beauty of the dance. And I thought it was great. I think it tells a lot in 6 minutes. Short film is something that can be a challenge. Getting like a whole story. Sometimes short films more like give you a moment or a glimpse at something, and I really felt like I got the whole thing in that 6 minutes. I was actually really surprised when I looked back and saw that it was only 6 minutes. I thought it was longer from my memory, from the fullness of the story that I felt that I received, and the dancing is beautiful. So it was a huge win. I'm really glad I picked it. And yeah, and it's nice to add some short film into the mix. I will admit, I did add some short film into the mix because it was getting quite into the end of the challenge, but it was well worth watching. So I'm really, really happy about that. Another short shorter film that I watched is called Nureyev. So this is a Canadian film. It was 47 minutes. It is from 2009, and Nico from So You Think You Can Dance Canada is the lead in this. It follows the world-famous dancer and choreographer Nureyev. I hope I'm saying that correctly. But it is a fictionalized account inspired by his life, shown through dance and dramatic monologues. So I don't always have the best response to even just simply biographies. I prefer memoir and autobiography in terms of the world of books. So sometimes I find it hard to trust a story that you don't know what is real and what's not real. This does start by saying it's a fictionalized account. I don't remember. That's the wording I got. I don't remember if I got that from the screen or if I got that from IMDb, but it's very clear from the get-go that this is sort of like inspired by his life, but isn't necessarily about the specific people in specific moments. I'm sure some of the things were, like some of the things felt like specific things, but I think the people that were doing the dramatic monologues were not real people in his life or at that time, I think. So, and it's also, I didn't give any context. So this is following a Russian dancer who defected to France, I believe in the 60s. And it was really interesting. Like, one, the format is very unusual. Like, so it has sort of talking head documentary style, but they're dramatic monologues. And then we are sometimes seeing that. And then sometimes we are seeing that overlaid with, we're hearing that and then seeing dance numbers, or dance numbers, would numbers be the right term, that correspond to what the person is talking about. And the lead is, at least the adult version of the character, is played by Nico Armachad, who won So You Think You Can Dance Canada season 1. So that was wild. I recognized him right away. I mean, I remember watching that and I think that was around the same time that this came out in 2009. And it was either right before or right after. I forgot to look it up. So it was a really interesting format. A bit more, I wouldn't say experimental, like it didn't feel experimental to watch. It felt very familiar in terms of if you watch documentaries or, educational programming, that kind of stuff. And I imagine it was a 1 hour something, because it was 47 minutes, which works well for a 1 hour format on TV with commercials. But it was a total random pick in terms of I was looking through things, and it was like people who like this also like that. And I'll tell you what the other film was that suggested this film, but I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't know it was Canadian. So there were just lots of little moments in there that were really, just kind of surprising, and that's one of the reasons that I like watching things that I don't know too much about. It doesn't always work out, but this time it really did. I thought the dancing was wonderful. I thought it was very expressive. I thought it was a unique format. I don't always like the sort of like what is or isn't true, but it does feel like it was clear that, that they're taking liberties here and it's inspired by, but not a biography. And so I feel like that I appreciated that very much, being at the forefront, like at the beginning of the movie. So that you know what you're getting into. So overall, it was a great watch, another shorter dance film, and another win. So yay! And it was Canadian, which is great. I love watching Canadian. As a Canadian, I love watching Canadian film. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember if it was NFB. I don't think so. Might have been Telefilm? Not sure. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Next up, I watched Musical Chairs. This is from 2011. So forgive me, I don't have my notes. What I would normally have my notes on is charging. So I'm doing a lot of this from memory. I do have some notes, but this one, I don't have the cast. That's what I'm asking for grace with, is that I don't have the cast with me, but there were some people in this that were familiar. So this one, I had a bit of for me, I didn't know, even with the name Chairs, and you may pick up on the wheel in the top corner here. I did not pick up on that. For me, when I read the description of this, it sounds like, you know, one person who runs a studio, one person who works at a studio. There's some kind of romantic elements, and maybe they're going to dance together. I mean, it feels very much like, you know, Strictly Ballroom, you know, but the roles are reversed in terms of the who's who. And so I was like, yeah, I'm in. That's not quite so much what this one is about. And to give some context, there is like a minor spoiler that I need to say for it to have context in terms of what I'm going to be saying about the film, but it also was not in the description, which makes me feel like it is a spoiler. Normally I like to avoid spoilers, but it is such a big part of both the film and both the challenges that I had with the film that I can't leave it out. So if you want to not have any spoilers, you can jump ahead. I'll put chapter breaks to the next film, but I'm going to go into the details on this now. For this one, it had something in it that I wasn't expecting. So, and as I said, it's a little bit of a spoiler. So there is someone in this film who that becomes injured, and they become someone who uses a wheelchair. So the musical Chairs is the chair part, and then there's also one thing that I actually didn't know about, and it actually is super cool, is that there is also wheelchair ballroom dancing. So it forays into that realm of things, but the person who has the injury is not the protagonist, and the protagonist is super encouraging of the person to do this, but I felt that the person who had the injury wasn't super interested, at least initially. Like they're going through the emotional upheaval of this major change in their life, and so them not being at the forefront of the story, and then I don't know, like, so I just felt, mostly I would say I felt very complicated about it, and I'm still sorting through that. And that's more of a me thing than necessarily the film thing. But I did really love that the protagonist, it was very neutral and encouraging, but not pushy about it. Just was like, hey, you love dance. This is a way to dance. You should do this. But I felt like they didn't listen very well to the, like, resistance or the maybe not interested anymore. Like, I felt like there was some stuff there. Because also, but at the heart of this is a bit more of a romantic comedy type. I wouldn't necessarily say comedy, but it is a bit more of a romance. There is definitely a spark. There is, but there's also some things that I don't always love in these kinds of films. We have very much a meddling character, a matchmaking meddling character that is not interested in these two people getting together. And then we also have a lot, at least two of the people, the actors are not wheelchair users, and I know because I've seen them in other things, but I think some of the other characters were. So in terms of representation, I don't know how that reads or lands, and so it's felt very complicated. There were definitely a couple of actors that I really like in this. There is one person, Leah Pipes maybe, who was in the TV show The Originals. I really, really like her, so it was nice to see her. And also in a supporting role, we have, the protagonist's father was played by the coach, the boxing coach in Girl Fight, and I recognized him right away because I love the movie Girl Fight so much, and I was like, I was so excited. So that was a real joy to see. I did end up enjoying a fair amount of this film, but I did have a complex reaction to it, which is a bit more of a me film, I think, than the film. So that was Musical Chairs. So that one was a bit rocky for me. And then I also watched Let's Dance. This I watched on Netflix. I don't know if it's a Netflix original. Does this say? Does not indicate. So this is a tried, tested, and true type of dance film where we have a group of friends. So we have the protagonist and two of his friends. They go to Paris That doesn't always happen in dance films. Doesn't always happen in dance films. But they're trying to get into a crew, a hip hop crew, and to get into a competition. And then things go a bit awry. And then we have, as you can probably tell by the poster, we have the whole cross-genre situation of needing to learn, teach different genres of dance, and, you know, also deal with, you know, past challenges and, you know, emotionalness, and become a bigger, better, not necessarily bigger, but become a, you know, work through the past to embrace the future and understand, like, you know, things that have happened so you can forge ahead and yada, yada, yada. Like, I mean, like, it's, and then, of course, there is some romance in there as well. There's lots of great dance numbers as well. And we'll have the whole, like, he's a hip-hop dancer and needs to sort of amalgamate into the world of ballet a little bit. It's a little bit more like the world of ballet has to amalgamate to him and his friend. I really like this one. I mean, it's a bit of a spin now that I think about it. It's a little bit of a spin on the tried, tested, and true cross-genre dance with a competition situation. But those are the two schools of dance that they have. And this one is hip-hop and ballet, which is often the combination. Often, I've definitely watched at least one other one. This was a France-Belgium co-production, and it's in French. I did watch a German film earlier this year that was a very similar setup, but it followed a female protagonist who was a ballet dancer, and this one follows a hip-hop dancer who's and has a male protagonist. I actually really enjoyed this one. There were some challenges I had with it in terms, there was this weird awkwardness between these two characters, and I could never quite sort out exactly what was going on, and because I think sometimes it was played a little bit as comedy, that they would be interested in each other, and there is a bit of an age gap, but I think part of it was one of the characters was so stone-faced that it was just really hard to read what was going on. So that was the only thing that felt sometimes a little bit awkward. I was trying to, like, I am not under, if they're going for comedy in this situation, I'm not picking up on it, which happens to me all the time. I'm not the biggest comedy person. And or I didn't find it funny, or I think we're past making jokes about that kind of thing. Or I'm missing something else, which could easily be the case, and like 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 5 years later, I'll finally go, aha, that's what was going on in that scene, and I was just missing it. So that can definitely happen. That being said, that's about some of the supporting characters. I did like the emotional through line of this story as well, because we do have a character who is, you know, has some, you know, tension or burden in his past, and, you know, and resistant to work through it or to think about it and to change his point of view or perspective. And through the magic of dance, of course, there are opportunities to work through it, because that's art for you. And it was just great. I just really liked it. And again, great dance, great music. There was a club scene that I really like. I almost always really love the club scenes in dance movies in terms of the music and the dance, and that was great. I liked the characters. There were some very convenient secondary characters' odd choices to sort of just move certain parts of the story forward, and or to make some of the relationship stuff more complicated at inopportune times, that I thought was a little clunky, but it wasn't the main, like it was just to throw a wrench in the works of things. It wasn't hugely important to the overall plot, hugely, but I don't know. So that was not necessarily the best, but I did enjoy it overall, and I did think that there was great dancing. I also really liked that they had multiple storylines in this. Like, I really do think that the guy is the protagonist, but they do have, like, multiple characters that they follow throughout, like, even, like, putting up the name of the character, and then you follow that particular character for a while. And I thought that that was really interesting, but I did really felt like it read like it was, he was in he was the lead character. So, but I thought there were really interesting character choices. I do feel like they took some risks as well in terms of a few things. And I appreciated seeing that, especially since I've watched a lot of dance movies. I've seen a lot of the same format again and again. So, and I thought it also worked, which actually is probably a little bit more important. So that was really great. So those were 4 new dance movies, new to me dance movies that I saw, which does get me to 10. But I had a wrench thrown in my works because one of the films that I watched, that was a short film, that was the one that recommended Nureyev. Before watching Nureyev, I actually started watching Flamenco at 5:15. This is from 1983. It is a Canadian short documentary. It's 29 minutes long. It is the Oscar-winning short documentary from 1984, and I have seen it. I was so excited. I was like, oh, a documentary on flamenco. I'm going to watch this. This is going to be amazing. Yes, it is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And I saw it many years ago. And when the dance teacher here comes onto the screen, I was just like, it just all came back to me. This is a fantastic film. This one is an NFB film, which is the National Film Board of Canada. And it follows the National Ballet of Canada. I think that's the National Ballet of Canada. I think that's what they're called. There was an extra class given in flamenco. It's at 5:15, so that's what it means, literally. There's a flamenco class at 5:15, and it follows that class with the flamenco instructors. So it's a husband and wife team. He plays the piano, and she is the dance instructor, and we see these ballet dancers learning flamenco. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it when I originally watched it. I loved it again. It just brought me right back. And the intensity of the teacher just spoke to me very like there's just some things that just hit you, that just feel familiar and just influential. And I'm like, yes, this is a dance class. This is a dance class. And I'm like, that's really it. And it's weird because I'm like, you know, I love like lots of different dance films, but it's interesting. I've actually watched several documentaries, or kind of documentaries, like the Nureyev one, but this one just really spoke to me. But it also was like, no wonder I have such a high standard for dance documentaries. Like this one, which I saw so many years ago, won the Oscar. Like, you know, and it's so good. Like, and it's so good. And the rhythms in flamenco is hard. I took a flamenco class and I was like, wow, not again, many years ago, but it's so, the precision and is in the rhythm. Wow, it is expert level skill required. It was, but watching this, I remembered the rhythms of the feet on the floor. Like, I recognized them, and I'd only seen it once before. It was so good. It was so good. So that ended up being, so I watched this sort of like in the middle of all of those. So that's one of the reasons why I watched some shorter film, because I was like, it was like the day before or getting quite close to the end of the challenge. And I was like, I was trying to get one film left for the last week in the challenge. I think that's what it was. So I think I watched this, Nureyev, and Musical Chairs maybe all on the same day. But yeah, so that was absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend Flamenco at 5:15 if you're interested in dance films, or if you're interested in documentaries, or if you're interested in music, because it's so much to do with the rhythm, or if you're interested in Canadian film, or if you're interested in Oscar winners, any of those things, highly recommended. It is on Tubi, so that is great, because Tubi is a free service. It does have commercials, but it's a free service. And I don't know how region free Tubi is in terms of its catalog, so I don't know if it's only available here. I don't know too many people that use Tubi, so I will try and see if I can leave a direct link to Tubi for this particular film. So but of course, as always, check Just Watch is a great service for seeing where things are available in your area. It doesn't have Canopy, but it has everything else. So sorry, whoops, that was very I can't think of the word that was. It was very in your face. I didn't mean to do that. So anyway, so those were the last set of dance films that I saw. I am thrilled that I actually I was able to get to 10 new films seen. I did have 2 rewatches. There was Flamenco at 5:15. I also did rewatch Girls Just Want to Have Fun, which is a film from the 80s. I rewatched that with my sisters, and that was a lot of fun. Yeah, so 10 new to me dance films in the first quarter of 2024 feels great. I do hope to do some kind of wrap up in terms of like talking about those 10 films. I just have to settle on what format I want to do it in and if I want it to be consistent through the 3 categories. So need some work there, but it is in the works. So there you go. Those are 5 dance films, 3 shorts. Hey, I said numbers, not hours, and short film totally counts. Those 3 short films were all really good. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I love dance movies. I will always love dance movies. I already miss them not being on the regular roster. I will tell you, we're only partway into April, and I miss not watching a dance movie almost every week, so I might have to switch back. So there you go. Let me know, what's your favorite dance movie or subgenre of dance movies? Do you prefer the cross-genre, learning different styles, documentaries, what else do we got? Experimental, I don't know, ballet films, I don't know. Let me know. What do you love about dance films? And I will be back soon with another video. Thanks so much for watching.